Many leaders, managers, and executives are concerned about how a hybrid workforce will change or dilute their company culture. How do you establish organizational values? How can you build trust across departments and teams? How will integrating new employees remotely affect the culture? The list of questions goes on. While there isn't one right answer, and none of us have a crystal ball to predict the future, we can look at what the current research says to inform us on best steps moving forward. First and foremost, we have to understand that the ways in which we cultivated company culture in the past won't simply translate to a remote or hybrid model. This isn't groundbreaking news. When looking at the history of a company, it's clear that culture evolves over time. With the COVID-19 pandemic causing so many shifts in how we work, it's actually the perfect time to re-examine and reevaluate your company culture. According to the researchers at the Center for Creative Leadership, there's 5 things you can do to cultivate and sustain a positive culture with a remote or hybrid workforce. Number 1, foster trust through strong communication. In order to build any kind of culture, it starts with trust, but it takes work. It's easy when meeting virtually to just focus on the task at hand. Remember to also find out how your employees or your coworkers are actually doing and feeling. Listen to the tone of their voice. Watch their nonverbals when on video. Ask people to summarize what they've heard during the call to make sure everyone's on the same page. Number 2, use appropriate communication channels. How many times have you heard this phrase? This meeting could have been an email. Most of us are feeling fatigued when it comes to how many meetings we have per day or per week. Lay some ground rules for what type of communication is appropriate and when. Ask employees what their preferences are. For example, maybe for sharing updates, an email would suffice, whereas collaborative problem-solving tasks are best suited for video conferencing. Number 3, be proactive in resolving conflict. During times of change, it's common for leaders to under-communicate due to simply not having enough information or answers to give. However, it's during times of change that leaders especially need to over-communicate. When there are gaps in communication or emotions are running high, people will resolve their uncertainty by creating their own narrative, which often leads to conflict. Schedule one-on-one calls to substitute for what used to be hallway chats. Be intentional and direct about the purpose of the call. Number 4, clarify roles, responsibilities, and deliverables to nurture collaboration. It can be hard to measure performance and productivity when your teams aren't working nearby. Build a culture of integrity by being transparent about your role and what you intend to deliver to your teammates. Provide specific details about your tasks and follow up on verbal agreements in writing. Ask for them to do the same in return. And number 5, set boundaries. Help ensure that people feel they have control over their work hours. Working from home can cause some people to struggle setting limits on when to work and when to turn it off. Talk about expectations as a team and agree on things like response time and work hours. Taken together, these steps can help you evaluate, define, and maintain a company culture that fosters collaboration and trust. Connect these steps to the organization's mission and values to help implement standards and even establish new traditions or rituals.